Hello and welcome back to Transit Talks, the podcast where we talk about transport issues across the UK and around the world. I'm William, your presenter.
And I'm Eddie Wright, your co-presenter. Today we'll be covering the incredibly hot topic of EV cars. Are they really as good as they seem, or do the disadvantages outweigh the benefits?
That's right, and also in this episode we're going to be exploring the intriguing world of statistics, helping us answer the question, are electric vehicles impacting the environment positively, or are they just the same as petrol cars? Electric vehicles. Some people see them as the future of transport, others see them as expensive, inconvenient, or just not ready yet. Depending on who you ask, EVs are either going to save the planet or overloads the power grid and leave you stranded at a motorway service station. So today we're going to be cutting through the noise. We're going to look at how efficient electric cars really are, whether they're actually cheaper to run, why charging overnight costs less, the reality of home charger installations, and how EV charging compares to petrol stations. This isn't a sales pitch. This is about how EVs actually fit into everyday life. So let's start with how much energy a car uses. Petrol and diesel are incredibly inefficient. Only about 20 to 30% of the energy in fuel actually moves the car forwards. The rest, well, it disappears as heat, vibration and sound. All of it is wasted energy. Think of it like this. An EV uses around 70 to 90% of its energy to move the car. That's not a small improvement. That's a massive jump. And if petrol cars are burning energy to stay warm, EVs are actually putting it to work. Would you agree with me?
Yes, EVs are putting nearly 100%, as you said, 70 to 90% of the energy directly from the battery to the movement of the car, wasting hardly any of it. And that's something that fuel cars simply can't do no matter the technology that they have. The fuel still wastes at least 70% of its energy on just vibrations and heat and things that you simply don't notice.
This efficiency is why EVs feel so responsive, smooth acceleration, and why they can travel further of the equivalent of a tank in petrol terms. Now let's talk about the big selling point, cost per mile. Is it cheaper? The short answer is often yes, especially if you charge at home. Most electric cars measure energy in kilowatt hours. Most EVs manage about 3.5 to 4.2 miles per kilowatt hour. With a standard home electricity rate, that's already cheaper than petrol. But things get really interesting overnight. So why charge overnight? Is it cheaper?
Yes, it is cheaper with tariffs. Less people using power, so energy companies reduce the tariffs and reduce the cost of energy during the night, which is why so many people charge their car during that time. It's also more convenient because you're sleeping, so you don't have to worry about the time that the car takes to charge. But yeah.
Exactly. At night, electricity demand drops, factories slow down, offices shut, most people are asleep. That means there's spare capacity on the grid. To balance supply and demand, energy companies offer off-peak tariffs, especially aimed at EV drivers. With these tariffs, electricity can be 3 or 4 times cheaper overnight. Some drivers pay as little as 3 to 8 pence per mile. And compare that to a petrol car. Typically 13 to 17 pence per mile just for fuel. So if you can charge overnight at home, driving electric can cost half as much, sometimes even less. So if you're on a long road trip, you can't just get to your destination in one charge, which is where public charging costs come in. It's not all sunshine. Public rapid chargers are more expensive, sometimes 70 to 80 pence per kilowatt hour. That can push EV running costs closer to petrol levels. But here's the key point. Most EV owners don't rely on public chargers daily. Public charging is a backup. It's not a default, is it?
No. The default is more charging at home. But people, that's because of convenience. I mean, that's the next thing that we're going to go on to. But sticking to this, people generally don't use public chargers as their usual or standard charging method for their car. But that's different with fuel cars because they need to go to power stations. Not power stations, fuel stations to fill up.
Exactly. And now let's go on to the point you just put up. Home charging. Convenience versus reality. Around 90% of EV owners do most of their charging at home. And honestly, that's the biggest lifestyle shift. Instead of visiting a petrol station once a week, you plug in at night, go to sleep, wake up with a full battery. No queues, no detours, but, and this matters, not everyone can do this. Installing a home charger typically costs around £1,000, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And for some homes, it's simple. Driveway, modern wiring, no planning permission needed. But for others, it's complicated. Let's say you live in a flat. You have shared parking, street parking, or older electrical systems. This is one of the biggest barriers to EV adoption, and it's often overlooked in debates. EVs work brilliantly if your housing situation supports them. And not just about that, you have to have multiple visits of an electrician, and also if you need planning permission.
Yeah, one house or one EV car can take up to 3 or 4 electricians depending on how many circuits you need. Like, you might need an adapter, that takes an electrician. You might need your local, government worker electrician to come and do your mains electricity, and perhaps another one from your energy company to get permission and stuff and sign some forms and whatnot, and maybe other electricians, and that can add up to quite a lot of costs.
I agree. So now let's go on to charging networks and petrol stations. But first, we need to talk about a big myth. There aren't enough chargers. Well, in the UK, there are actually over 70,000 public EV charge points. That's more individual charge points than the roughly 8,000 petrol stations still operating. But, and this is important, a charger isn't the same as a petrol pump. Petrol stations can serve cars in minutes, handle huge traffic quickly. You just put it in, it fills up with petrol, and then you just need to pay. That's it. However, EV chargers vary in speed. It can often take around 20 to 30 minutes for a useful top-up, and that's even on a rapid charge. So while the numbers look good, the experience is different. And that's why charger reliability, location, and speed matter more than just raw totals.
Yeah, and age differences can make a big difference too. For example, the older generations may not be able to understand the complexity of electric chargers. You know, like with a fuel pump, you just plug it in or put your fuel pump into your car and then fill it up, unplug it, pay for it, and you're off. But with electric charging, there's various options, different buttons, different paying methods, and that just confuses the older generations. That limits that. That's a significant barrier.
100%. And also, not everybody has the time. Is charging actually inconvenient? Well, most people often say, I don't have the time to wait for charging. But here's a twist. Most EV charging happens while you're doing something, whether that being sleeping, working, shopping, or visiting a location you've never seen before. So for daily driving, EVs often save time. They don't cost it. The inconvenience shows up on long road trips, busy travel days, broken or busy chargers, and that's where infrastructure still needs improvement, would you say?
Yeah, infrastructure does need improvement. It needs to be improvements in cables and cables that can cope with the electricity demands of public chargers. May not be there, but with fuel pumps, that just requires pipes, and that's mostly there already.
And also, despite saying this, the UK's public charging network is expanding rapidly. There's no doubt about that. With tens of thousands of public charge points across the country and hundreds of thousands projected by 2030. Charge UK, the industry body for charge point operators across the United Kingdom, has committed to investing more than £6 billion in charging infrastructure before 2030. And as of early 2025, there were over 73,000 public charging points in the UK in more than 37,000 locations, like we were saying earlier. So, what is the main factor for the environment and the bigger picture? Even when you include battery manufacturing, electric vehicles produce around 2/3 fewer emissions over their lifetime than petrol cars. And as of grid shifts towards renewables, that advantage only grows. EVs aren't just about cars, they're about energy usage, grid management, and when and how we consume power. Overnight charging actually helps balance the grid. It uses electricity that would otherwise go to waste. However, electric vehicles aren't just helping the environment. They're not making the biggest impact that they could unless their energy they're receiving is from renewable power sources such as solar panels, wind turbines, hydroelectric power stations. So, despite you purchasing an electric car, sure, it's not releasing carbon dioxide out into the atmosphere, but the energy that it's receiving is from non-renewable energy sources that are producing greenhouse gases. So it's actually not making the biggest change to the environment possible.
Yeah, there is what people see, and then there is reality. And what people see is, well, no fuel being burnt, no pollution, but what reality is actually, well, reality. Fossil fuels are being burnt anyway to produce electricity that they need to charge their car. So it's what we see versus reality.
So let's answer the big question. Should someone switch from a petrol car to an electric car?
Yes, it's certain. Yes, they should. It does make a difference. Sure, they're still burning fossil fuels to charge their car, but it's a lot less.
Well, electric cars aren't perfect anyway. They're not ideal for everybody. They rely heavily on home charging, and infrastructure still has catching up to do. But I do agree, they are more efficient, often cheaper to run, better for the environment, and a completely different way of thinking about transport. Electric cars don't just change the way we drive, they change when, where, and how we use energy. And that's why they matter most, don't they?
Yes, the difference that they can make and that they do make is important. We shouldn't focus on the disadvantages, oh well, though we should, but we also need to see the advantages and focus highly on those because those are the things that electric cars are best at doing and that we need to continue into the future, and that's brilliant.